In this video, we're going to look at determining whether a function is even, odd, or neither. The function we're going to look at is f of x is equal to x to the 3 minus x. Now notice we're given this particular function in function notation. In other words, it's written out f of x equals blah blah blah. We're not given a graph. So anytime you're given a function in this function notation, you always follow the same procedure. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the f of negative x, and we're going to simplify as much as we can, and then we'll talk about the different conclusions that you draw from whatever your answer is. So if we evaluate the f of negative x in this particular problem, what we're going to have is instead of x to the 3 minus x, we will have negative x to the 3, be sure to put that in parentheses, minus negative x. Now after you put in negative x in the place of x, you always want to simplify as much as you can. And so negative x to the third power is going to be negative x to the 3. You can think of that two different ways. You could either break the negative x into negative 1 times x and then raise each of them to the third power, or you can just remember that a negative number raised to an odd power is negative. Now we have a minus and negative x, so of course the two negatives will cancel, giving us plus x. And so the f of negative x is negative x to the 3 plus x. So now what we need to do is we need to look at what the conditions are for even, odd, or neither. If you have a function and you work out the f of negative x, if it were even, then you're going to end up with the same function that you had to start out with. So for this particular problem, we started out with x to the 3 minus x, and we ended up, after evaluating the f of negative x, with negative x to the 3 plus x. So that's definitely not the same, so this is not going to be an even function. So now we need to test to see whether it was an odd function. If it's an odd function, then all of your signs will change. So in other words, all of your pluses will turn to negatives, and all of your negatives will turn to pluses. And it has to be all of them. So all signs change. So we had positive x to the 3 minus x. So we had a plus minus right there and right there. And when we evaluated the f of negative x, we ended up with a negative x to the 3 plus x. We ended up with a minus plus. So all of the pluses turn to minuses, all the minuses turn to pluses. So for this particular problem, we can stop right here, and we know that the answer is that this function is in fact odd. Now, if it were not even and it were not odd, then you don't have to test anything else. You can automatically just write your answer as neither. So that's what you always do when you're determining the even, odd, or neither of a function, whether it is even, odd, or neither. You always just evaluate the f of negative x, and then if it's the same thing, it's even. If all the signs changed, it's odd. If neither of those are true, then it's neither.